don't know what to call this. Could have a couple ideas about titles to this. Once Upon a Time, in a Kingdom Far, Far Away. The very first king that they received. So we're going to talk about Saul and Samuel 10, verse 9 through 27. When Saul turned around to leave Samuel, Elohim changed Saul's attitude. That day, all these signs happened. When Saul came to the hill, a group of prophets came to meet him, and the Spirit of Elohim came over him. He prophesied with them. When all who had known him before saw how he prophesied with the prophets, the people asked one another, "What has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul one of the prophets?" But a man from that place asked, "But who's the chief prophet?" So it became a proverb, "Is Saul one of the prophets?" And when he had finished prophesying, he came to the worship site. Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, "Where did you go?" Saul answered, "To look for the donkeys. And when we couldn't find them, we went to Samuel." Saul's uncle said, "Please tell me what Samuel said to you." "He assured us the donkeys had been found," Saul answered to his uncle. But Saul didn't tell him what Samuel said about him becoming king. Samuel called the people to come into the presence of Yahweh at Mizpah. He said to the Israelites, "This is what Yahweh Elohim of Israel says. I brought Israel out of Egypt and rescued you from the power of the Egyptians and all the kings who were oppressing you. But now you have rejected your Elohim, who saves you from all your troubles and distresses. You said, 'No, place a king over us.' Now then, stand in front of Yahweh by your tribes and family groups." When Samuel had all the tribes of Israel come forward, the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. When he had the tribe of Benjamin come forward by families, the family of Matri was chosen. Then Saul, the son of Kish, was chosen. They looked for him, but they couldn't find him. They asked Yahweh again, "Has he arrived yet?" Yahweh answered, "He's hiding among the baggage." They ran and got him from there, and as he stood among the people, he was a head taller than everyone else. Samuel asked the people, "Do you see whom Yahweh has chosen? There is no one like him among all the people." Then all the people shouted, "Long live the king!" And Samuel explained the laws concerning kingships to the people. He wrote the laws on a scroll, which he placed in front of Yahweh. Then Samuel sent the people back to their homes. Saul also went home to Gibeah. With him went some soldiers whose hearts Elohim had touched. However, some good-for-nothing people asked, "How can this man save us?" They despised him and wouldn't bring him presents, but he didn't respond. All the people of Israel were gathered together. This was an important occasion. They had demanded that Yahweh set a king over them, and on this day their king would be chosen from among them. Whose tribe would he be from? Whose family? Some may even have wondered if they were to be the one chosen. So Samuel, the prophet and priest of Yahweh, brings forth the tribes. The tribe of Benjamin is chosen. He brings forth the clans one by one. The clan of Matri is chosen. He brings forth the families within this clan, and the family of Kish is chosen. And then from the family of Kish, Saul is chosen as king. Samuel wants to present their first king to the people, but there's a problem. Saul is missing. He's not to be found. Where is he? Did he not show up? Yahweh knows where Saul is, and he tells the people he's hidden himself among the baggage. As we will see, Saul knew that he had been chosen by Yahweh to be king. But he hid, hoping that he could avoid this task that Yahweh had given him. Now I have a question for each one of you, and you must answer to Yahweh and to yourselves. Are you hiding among the baggage? As individuals and therefore together as a congregation. As we look at Saul, let us ask ourselves, can I see any similarities between Saul and myself? Am I hiding among the baggage? Saul seems to be qualified for this position. We find in 1 Samuel 9 verse 2, and he had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man, and a goodly, and there was not among the children of Israel goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward, he was higher than any other people. The word goodly or goodlier is handsome. So he was easy to look at. He was pretty boy. Where have we seen this on TV before? Well, Yahweh chooses Saul. 1 Samuel 9 verse 1.
He must have been Tom Selleck, that's all I know to say.
There was a man from the tribe of Benjamin whose name was Kish. He was a son of Abiel, grandson of Zeor, the great-grandson of Bechorath, whose father was Ephiah, a descendant of Benjamin. Kish was a powerful man. He had a son named Saul, a handsome young man. No man in Israel was more handsome than Saul. He stood a head taller than everyone else. When some donkeys belonging to Saul's father Kish were lost, Kish told Saul, "Take one of the servants with you and go look for the donkeys." They went through the mountains of Ephraim in the region of Shalishiah without finding the donkeys. Then Saul and his servant went through the region of Shaalim, but the donkeys weren't there. The men went through the territory of Benjamin, but still didn't find them. When they came to the territory of Zuph, Saul told his servant who was with him, "Let's go back. My father will stop worrying about the donkeys and start worrying about us instead." The servant responded, "There's a man of Elohim in the city, a highly respected man. Everything he says is sure to happen. Let's go there. Maybe he can tell us which way we should go." "If we go," Saul asked his servant, "what would we bring the man, since the food in our sacks is gone? There's no present we can bring the man of Elohim. What do we have?" The servant again answered Saul, "Look, here I have 1/10 of an ounce of silver. I'll give it to the man of Elohim. Then he'll tell us where to find the donkeys." Now, formerly in Israel, when a person went to ask Elohim a question, he would say, "Come, let us go to the seer," because a person we now call a prophet used to be called seers. Saul told his servant, "That's a good idea. Come on, let's go." They went to the city where the man of Elohim was, and as they were going up the hill to the city, they met girls coming out to get water. They asked the girls, "Is the seer here?" The girls answered, "He's there ahead of you. Hurry. He just went into the city today, since the people are offering a sacrifice on the worship site. As you go into the city, you can find him before he goes to the worship site to eat. The people will not eat until he comes, since he blesses the sacrifice. Then those who are invited may eat. Go, you should be able to find him now." So Saul and his servant went to the city. As they entered it, Samuel was coming towards them on his way to the worship site. Now Yahweh had revealed the following message to Samuel one day before Saul came. "About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the territory of Benjamin. Anoint him to be ruler of my people Israel. He will save my people from the Philistines, because I have seen my people suffering, and their cry has come to me." When Samuel noticed Saul, Yahweh told him, "There's the man I told you about. This man will govern my people." Saul approached Samuel inside the gateway and said, "Please tell me where the seer's house is." Samuel replied, "I am the seer. Go ahead go ahead of me to the worship site. You will eat with me today. In the morning I will let you go after I tell you all that's on your mind. Don't trouble yourself about the donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, because they've been found. Who will have all that is desirable in Israel? Won't it be you and your father's family? Saul replied, I'm a man from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe of Israel. My family is the most insignificant of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. So why are you saying such things to me? Samuel brought Saul and his servant to the banquet hall and had them sit at the head of the guests, about 30 people. Samuel said to the cook, bring me the portion of the sacrifice meat that I gave you and told you to put aside. So the cook picked up the leg and thigh and laid it in front of Saul. Samuel said, this was kept in order to be laid in front of you. Eat it. When I invited people to the feast, I set it aside for you. Saul ate with Samuel that day. Then they left the worship site for the city. They spread blankets on the roof for Saul, and he slept there. At dawn, Samuel called to Saul on the roof, get up, it's time for me to send you away. Saul got up, and both he and Samuel went outside. And as they were going towards the city limits, Samuel told Saul, have your servant go ahead of you. He went ahead. But you stay here, and I will tell you Elohim's word. In 1 Samuel 10, we read Samuel anoints Saul as the king of Israel, and he is also anointed into this position, but also empowered by Yahweh to carry out his task. So 1 Samuel 10:1. Samuel took a flask of olive oil, poured it on Saul's head, kissed him, and said, Yahweh has anointed you to be ruler of his people Israel. You will rule his people and save them from all their enemies. This will be the sign that Yahweh has anointed you to be ruler of his people. When you leave me today, 2 men will be at Rachel's grave on the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. They will tell you, we found the donkeys you went looking for. Your father no longer cares about them. Instead, he's worried about you. He keeps asking, what can I do to find my son? Keep going until you come to the oak tree at Tabor. There you will find 3 men on their way to worship Elohim at Bethel. One will be carrying 3 young goats. One will be carrying 3 loaves of bread. One will be carrying a full wineskin. They will greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you should accept from them. After that, you will come to the hill of Elohim, where the Philistines have a military post. When you arrive at the city, you will meet a group of prophets prophesying as they come from the worship site. They will be led by men playing a harp, a tambourine, a flute, and a lyre. When the Spirit of Yahweh will come over you, you will be a different person while you prophesy with them. When these signs happen to you, do what you must, because Elohim is with you. Go ahead of me to Gilgal. Then I will come to sacrifice burnt offerings and make fellowship offerings. Wait 7 days until I come to you what to do. Now when Saul turned around to leave Samuel, Elohim changed Saul's attitude. That day, all these signs happened. When Saul came to the hill, a group of prophets came to meet him, and the Spirit of Elohim came over him. He prophesied with them. When all who knew Saul, before he prophesied with the prophets, the people asked one another, what has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul one of the prophets? But a man from that place asked, but who's this chief prophet? So it became a proverb, is Saul one of the prophets? And when he had finished prophesying, he came to the worship site. Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, where did you go? Saul answered, to look for the donkeys. And when we couldn't find them, we went to Samuel. Saul's uncle said, well, tell me what Samuel said. He assured us the donkeys had been found. But Saul would not tell him what Samuel said about him becoming king. Samuel called the people to come into the presence of Yahweh at Mizpah. He said to the Israelites, "This is what Yahweh Elohim of Israel says. I brought you, Israel, out of Egypt and rescued you from the power of the Egyptians and all the kings who were oppressing you. But now you have rejected your Elohim, who saved you from all your troubles and distresses. Here I am, I'm saving you. I brought you out of Egypt, and you want a king. You said, no, place a king over us, like all the other people. Now then, stand in front of Yahweh by your tribes and your families group." When Samuel had all the tribes of Israel come forward, the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. Then the tribe of Benjamin came forward, all the family of Matri was chosen. Then Saul, the son of Kish, was chosen. They looked at him. They looked for him, but they couldn't find him. They asked Yahweh again, "Is he arrived yet?" Yahweh answered, "He's hiding among the baggage." They ran and got him from there, and he stood among the people, and he was head taller than everyone else. "See whom Yahweh has chosen? There's no one like him among all the people." Then all the people shouted, "Long live the king." Samuel explained the laws concerning kingship, and he placed the scroll in front of Yahweh. So Yahweh changed Saul. He changed his heart so that Saul was receptive to Yahweh's spirit working within him, to hearing Yahweh speak to him. And so we read that he joined a group of prophets as they were prophesying. Those who knew him could see that he was different. Saul had been chosen and empowered by Yahweh to lead his people. But when this was to be made public, he hid among the baggage. We also have been chosen and empowered by Yahweh to serve him. That's why you are here. 1 Peter 2 verse 9. "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to Yahweh, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." In case you forgot, the Torah is the light, the lamp that shines to our feet on how we should walk. Each one of us has been chosen by Yahweh to be his disciple and to make known to others what he has done. We have been anointed with the Holy Spirit and given gifts to serve him, to proclaim his name and salvation to other people. Are we doing this? Are you? Do people know that you are Yahweh's and you are showing his word and love to others? Or are you hiding among the baggage? The word for baggage in Hebrew means a number of things. It includes implements, weapons, clothing, carriages, furniture. It includes the things we carry around with us, the things we possess. It's not easy to carry baggage around with us. We go to Walmart and carry our bags to our car, across the parking lot, and then we go back home. But the baggage I want to talk about today is not this kind of baggage. Just like the real baggage that Saul was hiding among was not the baggage that hid among that he hid among, but rather the baggage that he carried around with him. Baggage that would make him hesitate to accept the task Yahweh had given him, and which would hinder him from effectively carrying it out. And what is included in this baggage? First, Saul failed to trust Yahweh. Instead, he trusted in his own strength and power. When he first heard that he was to be king, he said in 1 Samuel 9:21, "But I'm just a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel, And isn't not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such things to me? He felt inadequate to be the king because he could not trust Yahweh fully. Even when he was to wait for Samuel to offer sacrifices, Saul went ahead and made the sacrifices himself when he felt it took too long. He wanted to start the battle before his men would grow weary of waiting. When we rely on our strength rather than the trust of Yahweh, we are hiding among the baggage of faithlessness, of not being willing to serve Yahweh because we fail to trust that his power is sufficient to enable us to serve him. That baggage is part of many of our lives. One of our sins is the sin of self-negativism, of seeing ourselves as weak, unworthy, and insignificant, of putting ourselves down, thinking that we will make little difference. Well, we can, but we must act in faith, and we must trust that Yahweh will use us. As we are called to take authority, we have been given authority to bring the good news by our Commander-in-Chief, Yeshua Messiah. We must not look at our weakness, but we must look at his strength. Another part of the baggage for Saul was his fear of what people would think or say. At one point in 1 Samuel 15, Saul told by Yahweh to completely destroy the Amalekites and their animals. After the battle, when Samuel heard the lowing of cattle and the bleating of sheep, he confronts Saul for not obeying Yahweh. And Saul gives Samuel a reason for this disobedience. In 1 Samuel 15:24, then Saul told Samuel, I have sinned by not following Yahweh's commandment or your instruction. I was afraid of the people and listened to them. Throughout the reign of Saul, we see how he listens to what people say and often acts in response to little thought. It was listening to the people's praise of David that led him to be jealous of David. In 1 Samuel 18:7, 8, and 9, the woman who was celebrating, saying, Saul has defeated thousands, but David tens of thousands. Saul became very angry because he considered this saying to be insulting. To David they credit tens of thousands. The only thing left for David is my kingdom. From that day on, Saul kept an eye on David. We also carry baggage, not the fear of people and what they think. It is also one of the sins of many of us individually. We are afraid to serve at times because of what others will think. If we share the word, will others reject us? If we pray out loud, will we sound good enough? People are watching us and we are very self-conscious. This has prevented us from using our Yahweh-given gifts and from being used by Yahweh. We must not fear man. Proverbs 29, verse 25. The fear of man brings a snare, but whoso puts his trust in Yahweh shall be safe. Saul also was inconsistent in his heart and actions. Yahweh had given him a heart that would hear the Lord, but he also followed the ways of his sinful heart. Twice when he was hunting down David, could have killed Saul, but did not do so. Each time Saul honored David and said he would not harm him, but soon he would be after him again. He even consulted a psychic when Yahweh would not speak to him. In a sense, Saul was too pragmatic. Do whatever seems to work, whether it is Yahweh's way or his own. I believe we often hide among this type of baggage. One day we want to serve Yahweh, but the next we follow other things to get in. We allow other things to get in our way. We live in both Yahweh's word and in the world, and the cares of the world. Our jobs, our money, our possessions prevent us from being used by Yahweh. We are inconsistent in our desire to serve Yahweh. And one more item of baggage, the baggage of disobedience and religiosity. Saul, as we've seen, often disobeyed Yahweh, and yet he was good at making sacrifices to Yahweh. He went through the motions of outer worship. At Gilgal, he offered sacrifice to Yahweh, but was disobedient in doing this, because, as we said, he was to have waited for Samuel. Again, when he failed to destroy the animals of the Amalekites, he said he wanted to use them for sacrifice. And this is what Yahweh responded to him in 1 Samuel 15:22. And Samuel said, "Has Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams." We also struggle with the sin of disobedience and religiosity. We often are content to worship Yahweh with our lips on Sabbath, but fail to obey His word. So we so easily fail to forget that Yahweh brought us together to reach out to the lost. We are often just going through the traditions of congregation without having a living faith that leads us to live obedient lives. We are hiding among the baggage. We have mentioned just a few. The failure to trust Yahweh, the fear of man, self-negativism, and religiosity. But we may also carry the baggage of unforgiveness and failure to confess past sins. I believe Yahweh wants to do much through us. Let us get out from amongst the baggage. Let us give our baggage to Yeshua to be freed from the burden of carrying them, to serve Him and to proclaim Him in His wonderful name, regardless of the cost. Yahweh bless.